before we craved them. Media artifacts were just noise, random byproducts of analog imperfection. Film grain was a result of light interacting with chemical emulsions. Vinyl pops came from dust or grooves worn thin over time. Static on the TV screen, that was interference. These were accidents, not aesthetics. But as these textures began to define an era, they weren't just tolerated, they were romanticized. People didn't want better sound anymore. They wanted the crackle of memory itself. Crackle, it makes us feel we're not in real time. It exposes the gap between playback and presence, reminding us that what we hear is a recording, filtered through machines and memories. For artists like the Caretaker or William Besinski, this noise was more than background. It was existential. It made time feel broken. In an age when digital promised to erase all flaws, those surface imperfections became the last link to something tangible, proof that we had been there before. And it meant something. We didn't just fall for cracks. We recreated them. Plug-ins now simulate film grain, tape hiss, and vinyl crackle with algorithmic precision. The sound of the past is no longer a byproduct, but an effect. It's nostalgia as consumer product. When we apply these filters to our photos or music, we don't just remember, we manufacture authenticity in real time. What was once accidental decay has become aesthetic design. We long for the past not because it was better, but because it looked like one.
Early computers like ENIAC were not just machines, they were architectural compromises between speed, reliability, and the limits of vacuum tube technology, laying the foundational logic.
Instagram filters don't just change colors. They sell a version of memory that feels authentic, but is entirely manufactured. By mimicking film grain or faded Polaroids, these platforms are doing more than catering to aesthetic tastes. They're retraining our brains to associate digital perfection with inauthenticity and artificial decay with trustworthiness. The paradox isn't subtle. We want the past flaws without its pain. And so, algorithms now create the exact emotional texture of analog media. But on command, nostalgia is no longer the passive product of memory. It's a design principle. Platforms weaponize it to create manufactured intimacy. Using AI handwriting generators and voice cloning tools that mimic human idiosyncrasies for persuasion. These systems are engineered not just to look human, but to feel personal, as if they carry the weight of shared experience. The illusion is so convincing, we begin to trust what was algorithmically crafted more than what was actually lived. While we think of nostalgia as a human emotion, It is increasingly driven by machine logic. Computers don't dream, they simulate. And in the arms race to manufacture trust, these simulations are so precise that authenticity itself becomes unstable. The more convincing the replica, the harder it gets to distinguish what was real from what feels real.
This electronic oscillation can then be shown. It forms a wave pattern.
Deepfakes are not just about tricking your eyes. They're about manipulating history itself. When AI reconstructs a speech, fabricates footage of a war crime, or reanimates the dead in conversations, we enter an era where visual truth becomes negotiable and memory is rewritten algorithmically. This isn't just a technical marvel, it's ideological warfare disguised as realism. Artists use deepfakes to challenge authenticity, but others weaponize them for propaganda. The line between artistic commentary and AI doesn't just mimic content, it mimics cognition. The errors, the awkward syntax, the strange phrasing are not flaws but features. They echo human quirks like confirmation bias and pattern recognition. What we accept as natural becomes a kind of algorithmic body language. These imperfections create the illusion of authenticity because they mirror our own cognitive shortcuts. It's not about being perfect. It's about being convincingly flawed, about passing for human when all you are is statistical hallucination. In Technopoly, as Neil Postman warned us, information is not a gift. It's a weapon and a poison in equal measure. When defenses against information collapse, we lose the ability to remember meaningfully. We become overwhelmed by data that offers no clarity, only confusion. Memory is not preserved, but parceled out to algorithms, deciding what to keep, discard, or distort. The past becomes programmable, and with it goes trust. In the golden age of personal computing, Sherry Turkle found people using machines to shape their identities and dreams. They sought clarity through code, believing they could control outcomes with enough logic. But as we moved into digital memory making, transparency gave way to opacity. Now, when a machine remembers for us, it doesn't just reflect who we are. It rewrites what we remember being. We've reached a point where the future may not remember the past unless permission is granted. Digital decay, once a flaw in analog media, has been replaced by algorithmic nostalgia. A curated emotional experience designed to simulate authenticity. Memory isn't failing anymore. It's being manufactured in real time. And with every deepfake and AI-generated memory, We trade truth for comfort.